Nick Foles has informed the Eagles that he is voiding his $20 million option for 2019. Of course, this is one of those things where the Eagles informed Nick Foles that they were picking up his $20 million option.
Correct.
He had 5 days to inform them that he was going to accept that and remain with the team. He is not going to do that, which means he has to pay back $2 million to opt out. He is a free agent. However, the Eagles can franchise Nick Foles, which they are expected to do in efforts to try to trade him. According to Adam Schefter, the franchise tag for quarterbacks next year expected to be around $25 million.
Yeah, that's crazy to just think that they're going to franchise him for $25 million. Which team wants to acquire Nick Foles for 1 year for $25 million? That's a lot, especially with the draft coming up. So, yeah, this is kind of a situation in which Nick Foles has played himself into at least a 1 year big-time contract, or maybe he can get a 2 or 3 year deal. I'm just trying to figure out which team, where does he fit, and what's the length of the contract, especially when you look at the NFL draft and what happened last year's draft with those 5 guys who were drafted in the first round, all starting for their respective teams throughout the season. So if I'm Nick Foles, I find a situation where I'm not looking over my shoulder, but at the same time be a full-time starter for at least 2 or 3 seasons. I think the best thing for Philadelphia to do is understand that, look, you kind of struck gold with the way that he's played, but franchising him, I don't see the why, because I don't think a team's going to trade up or trade picks for a guy like Nick Foles to take on a $25 million contract. This is not going to happen.
What do you think is the best landing spot? Look, because if it's going to be a trade situation, there's no way the Eagles are going to trade them or to trade Nick Foles to a team in division like the Giants, who obviously need him. They could ship him to the AFC, of course, down in Jacksonville.
Yes.
Maybe Denver. Which spot do you think would be the best for him?
It's tough. I don't know. I mean, when you look at, is it Miami? Is it Denver? Like, where do you ship him off to? Who wants to take on that? I mean, if I'm Brian Flores, who's the new head coach of the Miami Dolphins, he realizes what Nick Foles did to his defense last year. Now, credit, it was Matt Patricia's defense at the time, but he was still on that staff. Could he see and say, man, I remember what he did to us? Could he bring that type of contract on? I don't necessarily see if that's a good fit.
The other thing is, too, $25 million franchise tag, which they have to take on.
Yes.
Do you sign him to an extension, or is it going to be a 1 year prove-it deal for Nick Foles to try to earn that 3 or 4 year contract?
Right. See, that's where, you know, with the NFL having free agency before the draft always kind of screws itself a little bit. Remember last year, the Arizona Cardinals gave that big contract to who? Sam Bradford. Everybody's like, Sam Bradford, what? And then they draft Josh Rosen, and we knew that, like, Sam Bradford was not going to be the answer. I forget how much money he made in, like, 3 games, or however many games he started.
10
it was
or
like
11 million.
10 or 11 million
right?
for basically a rental fee. They're like, look, stop it, get away. And I think it could be a similar situation with Nick Foles, except that I think he will be guaranteed for a year or 2. And then you got to go draft another quarterback because he's not the long-term answer. But if people forget that he didn't play well in the beginning of the season. Like, people were like, oh, when is Carson Wentz coming back?
Right.
It wasn't like he lit the league on fire and they were like 4-0, this great start, and then enter Carson Wentz. I mean, they were struggling in the beginning of the season. So, buyer also beware of Nick Foles.
Nick Foles struggled at the end of the regular season last year and then had 3 amazing playoff games.
But we always remember the playoffs, right?
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.